What does it do? All right. Cool, guys. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Good night so far? Everybody having a good week? We're still celebrating St. Patty's Day here, so grab a beer. There's plenty. Yeah, we got a good lineup for you tonight, so I'm really excited. A couple of good full talks and a sweet little lightning talk. So yeah, if anybody ever wants to speak, I think we're good for next month. We might have one slot open, but yeah, if anybody ever has a cool topic to speak on, please email me, myself, or Steven. We're both very receptive. Simon as well, but he's kind of in and out sometimes depending on his job. So yeah, anyways, let's get started. Let's go ahead and do our quick intro. App Dynamics, the people who so graciously are paying for us to be here.
Hey, just find a distance there. My name is Dave Roth, one of the engineering managers here at App Dynamics, so welcome. I'm not sure how many people would here know what we do or what we don't do. We're APM, so think New Relic, except better. Probably the reason a lot of you haven't heard what we're doing is we've traditionally gone after more the enterprise space and the bigger customers, and we would traditionally sell to the ops guys, because as we all know, the ops guys have money, developers can't write checks. So, but we're trying to change that, and like as we're doing more languages, more agents, more instrumentation, we need to not focus on the ops guys, and we're trying to do more developer-oriented features, and that's why one of the reasons we're hosting this meetup is trying to get a better understanding of the developer communities. Now, seeing where we can add value for what we do. We do a ton of languages. We have Java, obviously, C#.NET, Node, Node agents, Python agents. We do some native instrumentation. We do a ton of stuff. So enjoy the thing. If anyone has any questions about what we do at the technical level, come find me. We're also recruiting, so I would be killed if I didn't mention that. So talk to our friendly recruiters or me if you want to chat further. But anyway, enjoy the night.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks again, guys. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with our everyday carry. Seems like people are carrying less these days. Anybody have something to share? Something cool you're working on, something cool you found, something cool you're using? You guys are an exciting bunch. It is Thursday. How many of you guys are first timers here at SF Rails? You can come up, you can hang out. Raise your hand. Woo! Welcome. Did you everyday carry? Sure.
Well, not so much. So my name's Ken, and I wanted to pitch an idea. There are a couple of us. We have a small company called SF Working Group. You should look us up, sfworkinggroup.com. And we're thinking about running a meetup, maybe a weekly meetup, or bi-weekly, every other week. And we're going to start with book club. We're going to go through Sandy Nutt's book first, we're thinking, but we want to get feedback from people. Other stuff that we're looking at doing is maybe looking at some algorithms kind of things, like studying Big O a bit, trying to understand what that is, and in particular try to look at how Rails, for instance, implements arrays, and what are the Big O of various different features of Rails, like arrays and things like that. So if you have some thoughts, Ken at sfworkinggroup.com, or just come grab me. But we'd love to have you, and feedback as well.
Thanks. All right, sfworkinggroup.com. Nobody's got anything.
I got something.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Or I can just talk.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey guys, my name's Eric. I help run a meetup that's called Hire Ruby on Rails Developers. It's like super on the nose, but we've had some awesome hires so far, and especially if you're a junior developer, we've had a lot of people show up, and even Ken got to do a talk at our last thing. So check this out. Our next meetup is April 15th at Galvanize.
Cool.
Thanks.
Do you guys take recruiting fees?
Nope.
No recruiting fees.
It's free to present and free to show up.
Nice.
What's the name again?
It's called Hire Ruby on Rails Developers.
Hire Ruby on Rails developers. And search for that on meetup.com if you're a recruiter. Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on a personal analytics app. It's just a small group of us right now, but essentially we're taking all the information that companies are collecting on people, whether it's like health, finance, IoT devices, and putting it all in one. Yeah. Can you take the microphone just like
Yeah.
Stop what we give you. All right, I can yell for it. Yeah, we're working on a. We're working on a personal analytics app. So it's just a small group of us right now, but we're taking the data that companies are collecting across, like from finance to health data to IoT devices. We're putting it all in one app, so people can see what information is being collected on by each company. They can put it together and mash it up. The example is from them. Take your Starbucks app, your sleep app, and your blood pressure monitor, and your thermostat, and that's how they all that. So it things by your life. Sherbit, S-H-U-R-B-I-T. Oh, and we're doing beta in about a month, so we're going to need feedback. Please send it. .io.
All right. Sherbit.io. If anybody wants commenting access on Product Hunt, get that on there first and you get commenting access. Just saying. Okay, anyone else? All right. Hey, you guys want me to say, can you like come up, otherwise I'm just going to be like running around. And I'm not wearing my Fitbit right now, so.
You know, since this is a Rails meetup, I just have to say as a public service announcement, like 2 days ago, Ruby 2.2.1 came out, and it fixes a memory leak, and it works great. Works great with Rails, and if you're not on Rails 4, upgrade. That's your public service announcement.
Thank you.
All right. I think Blurb was on like 1.8 or something. So. Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Colin. Actually, I'm a physician from Canada, but I spend about half of my time down here in San Francisco. We're trying to basically set up, we have a startup we're trying to get off the ground that's hopefully going to disrupt the paywalls in the medical journal industry. And we're basically looking for full stack developers to make that happen. So I'll leave my business cards just on the corner of that table over there if anybody's interested. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess if you're hiring or if you're looking to be hired, come on up, pitch yourself or your company. We don't bite.
Hey guys, my name's Todd. From a company called Merkle, a performance marketing company from the East Coast. We purchased a startup over here called 500 Friends. You guys may have heard of it. We're looking for Rails developers. I know it's not cool to work for a non-startup, so we just purchased a startup, but looking to scale, get the stability, get some cool benefits. So either 500 Friends or Merkle, M-E-R-K-L-E.
Okay.
I have an announcement about.
Oh yeah. You could like queue up right here, like a nice little queue.
Hi, I'm Ted. I work at a company called Gettable. We're a startup. We make an app for the construction industry, and it's basically a way for contractors to rent construction equipment more easily. It's pretty straightforward, and we're working with suppliers too. And basically came up here to tell you that we're looking for senior engineers. We are all JavaScript though. We don't do any Rails, but I figured many of you probably know JavaScript pretty well. So yeah, if you want more information, you can email me at ted@gettable.com. That's G-E-T-A-B-L-E. Or you can come find me and I can give you some details. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Emma. I work at a company called Stitch Fix, and we are hiring developers. It's a fashion company. We do online personal styling for women, but it's backed by a data algorithm that basically takes all people's style preferences and recommends different pieces that get shipped to subscribers monthly. And it's just a really interesting place to work. I work there as a junior software engineer right now, and so it is open to all levels as long as you're really great and have a lot of potential. You should try and interview. You can check out our technology blog at technology.stitchfix.com.
Hey, just real quick, my name is Mark. I'm doing a bootstrap startup, no money yet. And it's in the healthcare space, specifically physical therapy, Rails backend, Rails facing the clinic, and iOS facing the patient. If anyone's interested in the concept and the idea and to learn more, reach out to me at Mark with a K at keeponmovin' without a G, keeponmovin.com. Thanks.
Awesome. Cool, so let's do this real quick. If you're looking for a job, raise your hand. If you're hiring, raise your hand. Cool, take note, all right? Or go to the hiring event, where you don't have to pay fees. Okay, cool. I guess we'll get started if nobody else has anything to share. Please don't hesitate to share. I know sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking to stand up here and like, yeah, but people are like cool with it because at least you got the cojones to come up here and say something. So yeah, don't be scared. If you ever have anything to share, we don't bite, and most likely what you have to share is not really well known by a lot of people, and that's why you're up here doing it. So without further ado, I guess we'll get started. Reto.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay, cool. Do you have a mic?
Taking you
You're taking a mic. Okay.
Thanks. Cool.
I hope you can hear me. Hi, so I'm Rachel Stan. I'm going to talk about the Twilio callback engine that I wrote, and I didn't think much of it until I found out that they actually use it at Twilio. So it's actually pretty neat. So at Twilio, everybody who has to do, who joins has to do, so I understand, has to do a Twilio app or something that uses the Twilio interface. Because, you know, you're selling, this is your product, you want everybody to have at least a passing understanding of what it is that you're doing as a company. So, of course, you probably all kind of know what Twilio does. It allows you to kind of like, and I'm not associated with them at all, we just needed this for another project, and it was kind of cool. So, Twilio allows you to kind of like have your computer talk to the legacy archaic phone system with all its like 1930s kind of like technology and weird switches and protocols, and they wrap this all in a nice package for you, and then it's really awesome. And it's easy to use for the most part, and yeah, so that's what Twilio does. I work for Originate. We help people build startup companies. People come to us with an idea, maybe some funding, and we help them build the first version of whatever it is they're doing. We're doing phones, we're doing Android, iPhone, backend, Node, Rails, of course, and we have offices here in LA, and Vegas, and New York, and China, and Stockholm. We're only 150 people, but it's a real fun place. A lot of interesting projects. We have equity participation in the projects that we work with, which is pretty awesome, and you don't get that really. So I've been there for like 5 years now, and I have very diversified like startup portfolio, which is like, you can't do that unless you're a venture investor, which we're not, but we're kind of working with all these interesting people, and it aligns our interests with our partners very well. So we really want to make them succeed, because then that's good for us too. We have real 20% time, so you get to work on your own thing. And actually, I'm leaving next week, and I'm my 20% project has become like a full-time thing now, and I'm doing like DNA sequencing as a side project, which is kind of really awesome. So best place I've ever worked at, and they say, you know, come back anytime. It's awesome. It's really cool. So if you want to apply, send a mail to work@originate.com, and it's like, I'm going to shut up about this now. There's a QR code for the Prezi. You can take a photo of it. We'll get back to that later at the end, so you can take it then. The gem URL is over there. It's a robocall gem, and Essentially, here's my problem that I wanted to solve. We were doing this food safety app, and so in food safety, there are emergencies sometimes, like, I don't know, your salad is infected with E. coli bacteria, do something about it, or your stable's on fire, whatever. So you want to get people's attention and you want it quick. And so we send them emails, we send them text messages, but sometimes it's best to call people. So what I wanted to do is like something like this. I do an API call and I say like, call this number, emergency, go fix it, whatever it is, generate some text. And then Twilio will go talk to the phone somehow, whatever they do, like dial the number, and then it'll ring, the guy picks up the phone, and then it tells him the message maybe 3-4 times. You know, like your bank says like there has been like a fraud alert or something like that. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to do any more than that. But the Twilio interface, well, of course you could say this is a problem and if computers enslave humans and the computer calls you in the middle of the night and tells you what to do, but really, you know, yeah, it's not my problem. I'm the one making the calls, right? So what Twilio does actually is similar, but it's not quite the same thing. So what it does is like I can tell Twilio, go call this number, and then Twilio will go and they'll kind of call, they'll ring the thing, they'll use whatever archaic system that they have and like call the people there. And then the phone will ring, the person picks up the phone, and it might take like 5 minutes for them to pick up. Who knows, maybe it goes to voicemail, whatever. When they pick it up, Twilio gets a message like, you got a person. And then Twilio calls back to me and says like, what did you want to say? And of course, that's like seconds or minutes have passed here. And my port is closed and I'm not actually in connection anymore. My thread has gone on. I lost all the context for that. So I don't really know what I want to say, right? So it's a powerful way. You can also ask. You can also get a callback whenever a button is pressed, or you can get a recording of what the person says. All kinds of things are in the API. But in my case, I just want to push this message out and be done, right? So it's powerful, but lots of things needed to make it work. So if I actually want to make it work, I need to, you know, add the tests, add a helper method, add a route, add a model, migrations to kind of like make all this work. And then there's like trivial little bits. There's only 2-3 lines each. They're sprinkled all over the code, and they essentially do this callback thing. And there's a call here that calls the API. You have to put a comment that says like, yeah, in like a minute, it's going to go back to this URL over there, and then you got to kind of tell them what you want to say, and that's kind of a pain. So, you know, it's sprinkled all over the place, and there's no reuse, so it's bad. So what I've done is, essentially I wrapped it in an engine, and it's like the perfect use case for an engine. So what the engine does is, you know, I call this number, and I have some message that I want to send them, important message, and my engine will store it in the database and give me back an ID, and I'm assembling a URL with that ID. Oh yeah, so this is kind of like a little bit of the code here. So essentially, I call the send robocall, and I give it a number, a text, and a language, and a voice, and the from phone number. And that's kind of what you need to do. And then this is how it's implemented here. Yeah, so essentially, it creates a robocall object and saves it in the database. It makes a path for the callback, and then it calls the standard Twilio interface that's already there, which is, you know, that's pretty straightforward, right? None of this is rocket science. It's just kind of nicely wrapped. So then I call the Twilio interface, and it calls the phone number, and it goes through to the person, and the person picks up the phone. It comes back, and eventually I got the person, and it calls this route, and it gets it goes into this little handler, and it's got mangled somehow. Too bad. Essentially, I'm checking whether the record has been found and whether the token has been provided and stuff. The problem is like, where do you put the error message? So I'm just telling the error message to the person that I'm calling, which is weird. If something doesn't work in the middle of the night, you kind of like, you know, you pick up the phone and it says like, no token provided, an error has occurred. But it hasn't actually happened, it's very stable. But for debugging, it's kind of nice you get it with the call that you're getting. But yeah, there could be an improvement here. But yeah, so if you ever get a call in the middle of the night, it says like, no token has been provided, yeah, it's my fault. So actually it tells you, it tells you this one here, so it gives you a little bit more context. But yeah, there's an error handling issue here. So then, you know, it sends it to the phone, and then the user, of course, surprised, drops the phone and breaks. Whatever. So, yeah, there. So, so all you have to do to use this, essentially, use the gem, update the bundle, run the migrations, and then you add the Twilio magic token. So Twilio gives you, you sign up for an account, you give it a from phone number and these 2 tokens, and you give it the web accessible external path for where your server lives. And then you just call these things. And it's actually it's pretty awesome. You can do all kinds of things. I've done this actually. So it's great for prank calls. You can call people, and you can say something like, you know, dear Mr. Miller, this is the IRS Early Warning Center. Your 2013 tax return had an issue, and you owe us $21,583 dollars with 23 cents, and like breaks down like this. So that's probably against the usage agreement. It's probably against federal law to impersonate. But I don't know if I'm doing the impersonation or if Twilio does the impersonation. So it's probably okay. So. Yeah, so and you can set the language too, which is nice. I think it is like 11 languages. And there is a whole XML thing, so you can say this in this language, so you can make a little theater play, like maybe 2 people arguing, so you get a call, and then there's 2 people arguing on the phone. There's an XML format that's documented here that you can kind of say person A says this, person B says this, person A says that, wait 5 seconds, and then, you know, you can add MP3 files as well, but that's a separate callback, and I don't do binary files, I think, at this point. There's another fix that needs to get in there. There's a robocall cleanup that goes in at the end. It just stores these things in the database and never actually cleans them out. So probably they should be cleaned out once they've been processed, maybe after half an hour, or maybe. So you still have to clean it up, but it's really not that much data. It's just a small table that grows forever. Maybe causes trouble once later. So that's that. So it's nice because it's fully encapsulated, it's easy to review, easy to test, clean interface. It has all its own things. It's like, it's a unit as a whole. If you want to use it, you just use that thing, and it's not scattered all over the code. So go use more engines, really. If it makes sense, of course. And yeah. It has all these benefits, and the tutorial on the Rails page is actually quite good. And then, well, there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done still, and more tests. XML generation is kind of like hacky right now, so that could be improved. The state machine, there's a state machine support actually, so you can say please press 1, and then when they press 1, you get another callback. You can do something else. So really, what you want to do is you just want to describe the state machine, and then whenever it calls back, it kind of gives you the other message, and it keeps on going, right? So you can describe the state machine with one of the state machine gems, and it would automatically do all the right things. So you just have your state machine description for your whole call center thing. But that wasn't really a need for the thing, so it's nice and clean and has one call, one method that you actually have. Auto cleaning up the database will be nice, and then there's more Twilio things that could be exposed in that way as well. So that's this Prezi, and I'm gonna leave this up if you like. Any questions? I tried it on a 4 a while back, but I haven't tested it on a very latest one. So yeah, it should be okay. But yeah. So yeah, it has unit tests, but they don't actually. Circle doesn't actually run them when the Rails engine, when the Rails version.
Request on this?
Of course, yeah, sure.
Have other people already helped you with it?
I don't think I have gotten any actually. It seems to just work. It's simple enough for what it does. So. But if you want to add stuff, sure, yeah, I can look them over and put them in. So, yes, sir.
Why an engine as opposed to just typical Java?
Say again.
Why is this an engine as opposed to just a typical
Oh, because it has routes in it, and it has database migrations in it, and all these things. I don't think you can do that with the gem, because it's like reaching into it's doing all kinds of Railsy things. Handling requests. It has a controller. It has a library function. It's like it's scattered all over the place. So it's one way to kind of nicely isolate it. I think I looked at making a gem very early on, but I don't think you could actually do that. Any other questions? Any other suggestions? Okay, thanks. Cool, thanks.
All right. Let's get set up. Great. How many of you guys were productive at work today? I wasn't. I was watching the tournament the whole time. Sorry? No, Maryland plays tomorrow. How many of you guys have Maryland upsetting Kentucky? Yeah, one guy. I'd put $20 down. I'm sure the odds are pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, right. Unseat the undefeated. How many of you guys use Twilio at work or in your day-to-day projects? Yeah? You guys all use it for like two-factor auth? Or to text user info and stuff? Anyone using Twilio in like a weird way that one wouldn't normally think of? No? Yeah. My buddy used it to spam me with Justin Bieber tweets. So I had like a stream of Bieber tweets. What is this? Good. All right. Get on to our lightning talk. If you want.
You guys hear me okay? Yeah. Is it a good volume? It should be good. Like a rock star. Okay, cool. So my name's Don. I just went through YC this summer with two co-founders, and we made this thing called Blockspring. So essentially what Blockspring is it's a community-driven site of over 1,000 functions that you can use from any language. So basically people will build all sorts of crazy stuff in this. You can see we have a bunch of categories here. It's a little small, but so you've got like text analysis, finance, converters, people have made API wrappers, data visualizations, scrapers, image processing, NLP, file utilities, basically just pretty much anything which you could think of made into a function or library, people are putting on this site right now. And so, because you can call anything via API, you can use it in any program from any language. We use it a lot in Rails for background jobs. So basically, like you'll set up background jobs, and sometimes that's a pain, and you just want to, use something asynchronously. If you think of Amazon Lambda functions, this is very similar. So let me actually show you stuff. So here's an example of a block somebody put on it. So like I searched for word cloud, somebody made a word cloud here. And we realized an important thing with any function is it's a bit of a pain to ramp up on it, right? Like you have to read the documentation, or you have to look at the inline comments, you don't even know if it's really gonna work for your thing until you actually like test it out. So we're like, okay, what we should do is generate a page for every function someone posts on this. So whenever you make a block and post on Blockspring, we generate this page for you so people can try it out before they implement it in their code. So here's the form. I paste in, what did I paste in? I guess the preamble to the Constitution. But you could pass in any text, specify width and height, and it'll generate a new word cloud. So that's trying it out, and then obviously the second step is actually using it in your code. So this is where it shows you how you can, this is a giant block of text, which you can put into your curl. But here you can see Node, PHP, Python, Ruby. Basically we made a way to call it from every language. So then the second thing is like any good function, you can combine them. So if you have word clouds, well, that's like a data visualization, but you need a data source. And obviously you can pass in any data, but we realized a lot of data sources should also be blocks. So we made things for March Madness, pull basketball game data. Someone just made one for getting PubMed, which is, people in the world probably know better, it's a medical journal, I think. You can query Google spreadsheets, you can query your Postgres database, which if you're using Rails, maybe a lot of you are on. MagicArt API. So one of them can get you recent news for a stock ticker. So if we go in here, you can put in, I guess it autofills with Facebook, but we could try it with any company. And then it returns the data to you as JSON. So basically, I think this is getting data from one of the news sites, like Yahoo News or Google News. So anyways, we have a word cloud and we can get recent news. Now the last step is people can actually combine these into blocks. So somebody made a blog called Word Cloud for recent news. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. So basically, it's getting the financial data, passing it right on through to data visualization. So any block on here, like I said, just like any other function, you can just combine them into new blocks. So let me show you how to actually create a block really quick. If you click on Create, let's see if I can zoom in a tiny bit. So the code's pretty simple. When you're creating a block, all that happens is you're taking in parameters from your API, processing them, and returning an output. So here in request.params, it's just a big array of all the user inputs, and you can access them. And then in response.addOutput, that just puts an output. So here you can say, hi, my name is Paul, my age is 26. And then over here is where you add new parameters. And that's basically like specifying to a user what type of parameter should be passed in, what the name of the variable is, and so on. And yeah, that's Blockstream. Any questions? Sweet. Thank you.
All right. While he's getting set up, I forgot. My name's Yaron, like you're on your own. Sorry for those of you who've been here before. That's how I explain people my name. I work for a company called Iron.io. We're the message queue for the cloud. If you need async processing done, you can come to us as well. So like delay job and whatever you guys use to do your background jobs, we do it better. Or like cron jobs, because like cron jobs suck. You never know if they ran or not. But on Iron, you know if they ran or not, because we'll guarantee that they run. And if they don't, then you can talk to Steven. Not to me. Unless you're giving us a lot of money, that's where I come in. For some reason they chose me. You good? Yeah. Cool. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right, so I am very excited that you're here today because this is going to be a little bit different kind of presentation. You have found yourself in an interactive application, right? All of you in the audience have visited my site. So like I am the site. We're gonna do this little like interactive thing, okay? And the way that this works is I'll, the way that you input things is that I'll tell you what to say and you'll say it, and then the way that you'll click a button is we'll like clap overhead, okay? That'll be like kind of our submit. All right, so this is very exciting. As you may have noticed, I don't have HTTPS, nor do I have a privacy policy, so take that for what it's worth. Yeah, so I'm CJ Avila, I work at App Academy, and I would love it if you would all stand up, please. Yes. Okay, so, all right, we're all now going to authenticate, right? Because I only want to show you things if you have fully authenticated. So please repeat after me. I say your email. Okay, my password is, say your password. Your password. Ah, troll face. Okay, all right, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you. Welcome, insert email address. You have now been fully authenticated. Please take a seat. Okay, so what I'd like you to imagine is that this application is something that needs to know who's online. All right, so maybe it's a collaborative document editor, maybe it's like a game lobby, and more appropriate for a meetup is maybe it's a chat room because we're all here to meet up, right? So the idea is that we're going to implement this feature which shows who's online, okay? And we're going to look at some code, and very quickly over the next 16 minutes we'll look at 4 different approaches to showing who's online. Okay? So, as you know, if you take a link to some very popular site and you post it on Hacker News, right, the link very quickly spreads throughout people. So we're going to do like this little like wave type thing. I'm going to start over here, and as my hand passes you, just with your hands, you don't need to stand up. We're going to do like a little wave. Okay, ready? Okay, all right, okay, all right, stop. No, don't do it. Okay, all right, put your hands down. All right, great. So all of you on this side of the room are early adopters. Everyone else must be users of older sites, maybe AOL or something. So the early adopters have visited the site. The very first thing that we're going to check out is implementing who's online using the last scene. So maybe if you think about this for a little bit, you'll realize that like one option to showing who's online is using the last login time of some user, right? So yes, brace yourselves, traffic is coming. So we have this wave of traffic coming in, right? And one way that we might do this is by touching the current user for every single controller action, right? And then like given some delay, if they have visited the site within the last X seconds, we'll consider them someone who's online. Okay. So here are the considerations. Let's look at some code. Okay, bringing it up. All right, so for the rest of the presentation, we'll consider our user model to look something like this. Nice little gravatar, because who doesn't want a gravatar with their user account, right? Very simple current user method. We're just going to like look you up by your email that you told me. And for last scene, this is how we might implement a list of current users who have been logged in since some like updated app, right? Like every controller action, we're going to touch the user, it's going to update the user, and if they've been logged in the last 180 seconds, we're going to consider them logged in. This is how we might implement some like touch current user. Touching, not sure if that was like the best name for a method. And here's just like some like little HTML ERB that we're gonna see. So, well, problems with this. Who can tell me why this is bad? Right? Like, or actually, like first, who can tell me like how we can make this fast? Like, how can we make this line fast? Database people. Yep.
Add an index.
Okay, add an index. Yeah, add an index to updated app. Right. So that's great. Good answer. But even like beyond that, right? If you think about the updated app, if we're indexing the current user table on the updated app attribute, and every single controller action we're hitting, we're like adding, or we're like constantly updating the updated app for every single controller action. So we're going to be like thrashing this index pretty rough. So if we have lots of users, not going to really work. I think this might be how SoundCloud implemented who's online in the beginning, and then they like stopped showing that and killed the feature. And then the link that told you about that is gone. So unfortunately, I can't show you. But okay. So and also like, how do you choose an appropriate delay? Right, 180 seconds. Like, who knows what the right answer is for that? I don't know. All right. Second option. Okay, we're gonna like keep a cache of users. So maybe when a user visits the page, they'll send an AJAX request with some user data. We'll take that request, put it in the Rails cache, and then when they leave, we'll just delete them out of the cache. Okay, so let's play a little game. I'm going to act as the cache. You're going to say your favorite gem, and then locked and loaded. And then like that will be our registration, and then you'll say your favorite gem again, and over and out. Okay, that'll be like remove your favorite gem from my brain, from my cache. And at the end, I'll try to figure out like what gems are still online. Because I can't remember names very well, we'll just use gems. Okay, so, all right, okay. All right, ready, go. Okay.
Faker.
Oh, Faker, all right. Faker, RSpec.
VCR.
RSpec Rails, VCR.
A-page object.
Binding of color. Huh?
A-page object.
A-page object.
PG.
PG, good. Okay, everyone is in, now we have to like take some out. So we've done lots of like cache puts.
RSpec Rails out.
RSpec Rails out. Okay, I don't remember any of the other ones, right? So like maybe it was buffer overflow, whatever. The point is that like managing this cache is really tough, right? But also there's a couple other issues with this. So, right, let's look at a little bit of code, okay? Okay, so this bit of code is a bit more. We have some online users controller, right? We're gonna this is gonna be the controller that handles the registrations. We're sending some post requests with user data, and we have every time we hit this page, we have a before action, which is gonna read all the current users. We're gonna, at the end of the controller action, update who are the current users. Some very simple HTML and a little bit of JavaScript here, okay? So, as you see, when the document's ready, we're going to post to this online users resource, okay? And we're going to add the user to the list. And then at the end, when we're going to close the browser, this is the plan. The plan is when we close the browser, when we leave the page, we're going to send some delete requests. But it turns out that this is not guaranteed to work. This before on unload thing is not guaranteed to work. In fact, it doesn't work every time. Also, async false. That seems pretty gross, right? Having to put an async false in an AJAX call on page leave feels very dirty, right? Very dirty. Don't want to do that. So yeah, it doesn't work every time. Feels dirty. Probably not the right answer. Does anybody know why we need to put async false here when we're watching the page leave? That's right. Yeah. So it turns out that if you don't have async false, then before the XHR request can be sent, we're going to enter another event loop, and on the next event loop, the page is going to close. So before the send actually happens, the page is going to close. So kind of a pain, and not very reliable. So not a good idea. Okay, come back here. Cool. All right. So the problems are that it's really hard to manage this cache, and it's also hard to handle the unload problem. Okay. Very good. Okay. So yes, now it's time to talk about web sockets. Right? So when I explained to my wife that I was going to be giving a little presentation about who's online, she's like, okay, that's interesting. Nods her head and smiles. She's totally not into tech. And at some point she heard WebSockets, right? And I was like, okay, well, it would be, I'm really, really interested in having some props or doing some audience interaction. I think it'd be really fun. And so she went to the store and she brought me back socks that look like they're from the web. So they're web socks, right? Nerd. And then these have headphones on them. Web socks. So we are going to use these web socks tonight. Okay? They're perfect props. Okay? So web socks. Talk about web sockets. So this is definitely another huge portion of solving the who's on online problem. Okay? One option is to use some third-party service. Okay, so Pusher, great option, probably one of the first things that came to mind, maybe if you've dealt with this before. How many people have used Pusher? Pusher, a couple, okay, good. So Pusher is a third-party service. You sign up, you get some API key, you add some JavaScript to your page, and then you can publish and subscribe to events that happen over channels, and they charge you if you have beyond a certain number of connections. So I think beyond 20 connections, they'll start charging you some fee to add more connections. But you can have some sort of real-time communication, right? Using Pusher, drop in a gem, drop in some JavaScript, and you're good to go. So that's one option. Alternatively, you can extract a node service and write a little bit of code with Socket.io. Okay, so a little demo how this works. Okay, here's our web sockets here. Okay, so the idea is that the way that you know who's online is who has an open connection, an open socket, right? So if I take one of these socks, this will be one end of the connection, all right? So coming out there, nerd sock, all right? I'm not gonna throw it in the food. So it's okay, so Valina and I have a connection with this nerd socket, this nerd web socket, right? And I have this other socket here. So now you're gonna be online. Oh, yeah. So, you guys are, you can be online together. That's fine. Okay, so now we have two open connections, right? Very clear that we are connected. Okay, very clear that we're connected. As soon as the page closes, they're gonna drop the sock on the floor, or they're gonna send it back to me, right? The socket is gonna close as soon as the page closes. Now, another interesting problem with registering users into a cache is that we don't know if the page is going to reload, they're refreshing the same page, or if they're leaving completely, right? So you kind of have to maybe you take the users who are in the cache and you put them in some queue, and after some delay, you remove them from the queue, huge pain, right? So with WebSockets, the nice thing is that if someone's on the page, you have a socket, you have a connection, right? So you know like who's on the page. Okay? So yeah, you can here. You have socks. Yay. Prizes. Yay. Okay. So let's look at some code. Okay, so let's see. Web socket. Okay. All right. So I want to emphasize how simple it is to set up Socket.io. Okay, this was very surprising to me. Okay. So oh boy. All right. We've got, here's option 4. Here's a little bit of HTML that we're going to use for option 4. Socket.io, you just call the socket initializer, passing it the resource of your node server that's running. Okay, so you can spin up a node server, put it on Heroku, and now this argument will be the address of Heroku. Okay, we have 2 main events. One of them we are emitting, one of them we are registering and listening to. Okay, what's cool about this, or like this, so also I should say that this is a very naive implementation. Every time a user comes on or leaves, I'm just like full sail like updating all the users who are online. Okay, we could be a little bit more clever, but this is very simple implementation. This 32 lines is all of the server code. This is like the entire thing. All that you need for getting set up with who's online. Okay, so we're using node static, Lodash, and static server to give some Socket.io files, right? Okay, we're also using Socket.io. We have these little login, logout helper functions. We're keeping this hash of users based on their socket ID on the backend, and then we're simply listening for a connection event and a register event and a disconnect event, and then every time we have anyone register or disconnect, we full sail update everybody. Okay, so pretty simple, surprisingly simple, I thought. So that is Socket.io. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Ah, yes. So that's it. Those are our options. All right. So existing solutions that I looked at or that we talked about. Last seen cache using the pusher presence channel, writing your own like IO.js or Node.js Socket.io service. I also, during my research, I saw that PubNub, one of our sponsors, I think, right? PubNub. They have a presence, part of their package is like something about presence. Also, Firebase has some built-in presence stuff too. So a couple other third-party services, if you'd be interested in checking those out. Okay, so that is it. And as good users, we want to like make sure that we sign out. So if everyone will stand up again. All right. Okay. Great. Thank you again so much for coming. I really appreciate if you would like go say hi to someone you don't recognize. All right. So let's sign out. 1, 2, 3. Sign out. All right. Questions, yeah, I guess questions. So the question was, when you have all these sockets open, where do you store them and how do you handle that? So none of the communication on the server is talking to Rails. Like it's just the clients are talking to this service. Yeah.
How do you use that in some actionable way?
So there is no like actionable, so in Node you could make requests to some Postgres database if you wanted to like log when people were on or when they were not, but at the most basic level you just keep a JavaScript object that's full of socket IDs and then like
you describe the mechanism for doing it and not what you do with the backend.
No, that is the whole backend. Like the entire backend is that 30 lines of JavaScript. Yeah.
But you need to find, show how many users are online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
get it later.
yeah. So this is it running live. So you can see this is option 1, option 2, option 3. The presence channel apparently isn't working very well, and then the node service just kind of like shows who's online. You can log in as different users and play with it. The code for both the Rails app and the node service are all up online.
The Rails app is serving the page.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Is there any data exchange just to maintain the connection, or is it only just like open connection drop?
Yeah. So Socket.io, I know they have. They handle all of the connection details for you. Okay, so if, like for example, the browser doesn't handle or doesn't have like a WebSocket implementation, they'll fall back to long polling. So they handle all that implementation. Yeah.
The TCP sockets, right?
Well, it's using the WebSocket API, like in the browser. Yes.
So what happens with the socket connection if the user refreshes the page?
What happens to the socket connection if the user refreshes the page? Good question. So we're still gonna like have an unregistered, we're gonna have a disconnect and then a reconnect.
But there will be a notification sent, right?
Yeah, so it'll show the user flash, but what's nice about this implementation, rather than the the caching implementation, is you don't have to manage the connection, like if they're in the cache or they're not in the cache. Like the presence of the socket, like the socket being connected, is enough to know that the user is online.
But there could be delay allowed, like let's say 1 minute delay. If the connection was closed one minute later, and there was no connection from the same user, then we would consider that user to be offline.
Yeah, so as long as the page is open, the socket will stay open.
Yeah, but there's one false positive, right? If I refresh the page, I'll go offline, go online, and there will be notifications and I went offline. If we want to avoid this interruption, we just delay this decision by some timeout, let's say 15 seconds.
Yeah. So the same sort of solution that you can have for the caching problem in Rails. So if you have like some queue of users who have disconnected, and then like with a timeout go through and remove the users who are in the queue from the like online cache.
You can use TTL with some college-based service.
What is it called?
TTL, like time to leave.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So you can use TTLs. Yes.
This might be a really basic question, but you said that one of the downsides of the caching approach is that you have to keep track of when each user comes in and comes out. Don't you have to keep track of each socket connection as well?
You do, but so you have to keep track of it in so much as storing like a JavaScript hash with the socket IDs, and Socket.io will handle the connection information. So if someone disconnects, they know to like remove the socket.
So it's kind of like the extraction of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good questions. Any further questions? All right.
Are you using this somewhere in production?
Yes. So I have this. One of my New Year's resolutions was to type faster. I'm a terrible typer. It's awful typer. So I want to type faster, so I built a game called WPM Challenge. Go check it out. It's kind of like Type Racer, so you can like type race against your friends. So it shows like there's like a little game lobby where you can invite people and then see who's online, so you can race against them. But that's like where this problem. I realize it's kind of like a fun, interesting little problem. Yep. Cool. All right. Have a good night.
Awesome, thanks. Let's give a big round of applause to our speakers. And at that is for hosting us. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Yeah, so our next meetup is next month at Teespring. We got some good speakers lined up, so really excited for that. Thank you all for coming out. Do you guys need help stacking chairs or anything? Going once, going twice? No. Well, I'll leave you with this one joke before we head out. I want to start a tradition where we tell like programming jokes before or after each meeting or meetup. So a SQL query walks into a bar, goes up to two tables and goes, "Hey, can I join you?" Yes. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next month.